everyone, my name is Sitoshna, and in today's video I'm going to talk about the cost of living in New Zealand. If you are new to this channel, I make the videos about the beauty, vlog and lifestyle videos. आज चाहिँ म न्यू जिल्यान्ड बस्दाखेरि के कस्तो एक्सपेन्सेस हुन्छ वीकली बेसिसमा भनेर म शेयर गर्न गइरहेको छु. So make sure you watch the video until the end. Just a disclaimer here, I'm not a licensed immigration advisor. I'm just here to give you a roughly idea about what is the weekly expenses to live here in New Zealand. Also, the prices mentioned here may not be the exact figures as it is based on my situation. I'm also going to share with you exactly how much we pay every week for accommodation, food, groceries, electricity, internet, just the basic expenses every week. I'm also gonna give you some tips and tricks on how you could save more money while living here. Some places in New Zealand are more expensive to live in than the others. It would also depend on your spending habits and your specific situation. The reason that I'm sharing my exact budget and expenses is to give you an idea about what it's like for me based on my situation, and hopefully that will give you an idea about what is the cost of living like in New Zealand. Please note that I'm only talking about the basic requirements in this video. I'm not talking about my savings and income. So now let's start with the very important expense, that is rent. We live in the small town in the South Island, and currently we are renting 2-bedroom unit, and it cost us $350 per week. Now the power is not included. If you are looking to rent 3-bedroom house in this area, then it will cost you about $400 to $500 per week. Also, the case is different if you want to live in the big city areas like Christchurch, Nelson, Dunedin, Auckland, Wellington. Most people say Auckland is the most expensive place to live in New Zealand. So if you are looking to rent 2-bedroom house in the center of Auckland, then it will cost you about $400 to $600 per week. But if you are trying to rent in the suburb, then it will be less expensive than the city area. If you are looking for a cheap accommodation in New Zealand, then the best option for you would be to do flatting. If you don't know what flatting is the situation where you live with other people. They might be your friends, might be other students or other families. Then you share the cost of renting the entire house. So normally sometimes you can get your own room, and also sometimes you get your own bathroom, and you might have to share the kitchen and the living areas. On average, you can probably find a good flat for $200 to $250, including power and internet, and sometimes also including food and groceries. You can also share food and groceries with your other flat members. Likewise, you can also share the housework like cooking, cleaning, which will be much easier for a student or if you are a full-time worker. While renting a house, if you are looking to buy a furniture, then I'll suggest you not to go and buy the first-hand furniture, as they can be very expensive. Buying the second-hand furniture is very popular in New Zealand. Usually you can get it through the Facebook marketplace, or also you can find them on the TradeMe. You can save a lot of money by doing so. So if you want to save on accommodation expenses, and if you don't mind living with the other people, then I would highly recommend you to do flatting. So that was for my accommodation expenses. Now let's move on to food and grocery expenses. So we are the person who likes to cook their own meal and just try to eat healthy food at home. So the weekly food and grocery will cost us about $200 to $300 per week. That is including all the cleaning and all the other stuff we need in the house. Since we live in the small town, the food and groceries are sometimes very expensive here. Sometimes we go to the big city areas and buy in a bulk and bring it over here. So the cheapest supermarket in New Zealand are Pack and Save and Countdown. So if you really want to save money on food, I suggest you guys to cook at home, because buying from outside and eating from the restaurant can be very expensive. Especially if you are a student, then I suggest you to learn some cooking at home before coming to New Zealand. If you are from Nepali family like me, then don't worry, there are lots of Indian grocery stores where you can buy the ingredients to cook your own meal at home. If you are trying to save money on food, then make your own meals, your lunch, breakfast from the home. Now let's talk about the travel and transportation expenses. At this stage, we only own one car. As I said earlier, we live in the rural area, so we don't need to drive that much to get to work. I usually drive about 3 minutes to get to work, and my husband usually walks to work. So we fill the petrol in our car about 2 times a month, which costs us about $100 each time, which is about $200 per month. Petrol price right now is approximately $2.75. There is no public transport facilities where we live in, but if you live in the city areas like Auckland, Wellington, Christchurch, Dunedin, then they do have pretty good public transport facilities, and they do offer 50% discount for the students. Buying car is pretty cheap in New Zealand, but you also need to consider the expenses and the cost that comes with buying the car, like servicing and maintenance fees, and also the cost for the fuel. Now let's move on to another expenses, which is electricity bill. The cost of electricity is usually higher on winter and lower in the summer. So where I live in has extreme cold weather and extremely hot summer. So the price during winter time can be up to $140, and in the summertime can be $90 to $110. Obviously in the winter time we use heat pump for the heat. If you have a fireplace in the house, then the bill can be a bit cheaper, but you are still paying for the hood. There are lots of electricity providers in New Zealand. If you want, you can compare the prices and select the one that suits you. Now let's move on to another expense, that is internet. For the internet, we are currently paying $95 per month. That also includes Netflix. We don't have a fiber connection. We only have a 4G at the moment, but it's doing pretty good for 2 people in the house. If you want a fiber connection, then it might cost you $120 to $140 per month. Again, there are a lot of internet providers. You can compare the prices and get the one that suits you the best. Now let's move on to another expense, that is phone expenses. I usually spend about $20 every month. That will give me enough text messages, phone calls whenever I need. I just like to make sure that I have enough just in case for any emergencies. So all the phone service providers, they have their own plan. You can choose like $9 plan, $10 plan, or $20 plan, and it just depends on your preference how much you'd like to spend on. So the other expense I've got is the gym expenses. I usually pay $7 per week for the gym membership here in this small town. The price is pretty much the same also in the city areas, but it also depends which company you are going to. It can cost up to $7 to $10 per week. So based on the expenses we discussed earlier, our weekly expenses for 2 people, a couple living in a 2-bedroom unit in a rural area in New Zealand, will cost us up to $800 to $900 per week. It also depends on how we go on the week. Please note, these are just the basic needs. I haven't added the medical expenses, the car insurance cost that we pay on the monthly basis. We don't have a health insurance, but we are registered to a GP here in the area we live in, and we pay $40 every visit if we have to go and see him. If you have work visa for more than 2 years in New Zealand, then you only will have to pay $5 to $10 for the medicines. So with the overall expenses for 2 people to live a pretty comfortable life in New Zealand, you need to be earning $1,000 excluding tax per week, which is $52,000 per year. So yeah, New Zealand is pretty expensive place to live in, but I really like the nature and the lifestyle living in New Zealand. I also find New Zealand pretty much similar to our country Nepal, as it is very rich in the natural beauty. So if you are a student wanting to come to New Zealand, then it is very important for you to have a job, as it will help you with your expenses. Students are only allowed to work 20 hours per week, but you're allowed to work full-time on the school holidays. So if you get a chance to work on your school holidays, then I suggest you to do it, as it is the time where you can earn some money and save it. The minimum wage of New Zealand is $21.20 at the moment. So if you work on the college holidays and earn some more money, then you will gain more experience, and you can also get better pay in the future and also get better job as well. So those were all my weekly expenses living here in New Zealand. So I hope this video has given you some ideas about the average cost of living in New Zealand. Again, depending on where you live, it could be more expensive, and also it depends on your specific situation. For example, if you are a family of 4 or 5, then the cost of your living could be much higher than this. And yes, definitely there are lots of ways you can do more saving and reduce your cost. It's all about being smart in your budgeting and spending habits. This was my first video about living in New Zealand. So if you guys are interested in the content like this, or if you guys have any questions, just comment down in the comment section below, and I'll be more than happy to answer them and also make videos on my free time. So this is it for today's video. I really hope this video was helpful for you guys. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and like this video if you like the content. I will be posting more travel vlogs in the coming future, and I do post lots of travel videos and pictures on my Instagram, so make sure you follow me over there as well. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.